What's up, everybody? It's Sean Astrom here with SA Studios, and I thought I would do another quick little tutorial on some of the stuff that I've been doing with the new Vray update, which has come out recently, and it is just really fantastic. Now, there are just so many good render engines out right now, but Vray's integration into Cinema 4D is just really fantastic. And let me just show you a couple of the things that I really love. So if I bring in a plane object here, if you're wondering why that came in so big, it's because I have changed the defaults here. If you go under this edit menu here, you can go set as default. So you can actually go in and change up any of these presets. If you wanted this to be the default for this guy, this platonic object here, you could do that. But anyway, moving along here, I'm going to hop into my render settings here. I'm going to set up Vray Bridge, and one of the really wonderful new things about the new Vray 3.4 is that you really don't have to worry about the sampling so much anymore, and the different samples for your lights and the different samples for your shaders and everything else. Everything is set up pretty much automatically by this new progressive mode. So without getting into all this stuff, I'm going to leave most of this at default, but I might set the max render time to 0, which will actually allow it to go on indefinitely. And then if you're working on animations, you want to make sure and check on this time dependent box, so it will do different sampling per image. And another thing, although they say on the forums to leave the filtering on this Lanxos, I don't know if that's how you say that, but I like to actually set it to triangle and a filter radius of 2. And this just produces a little softer looking images. So the other important thing here would probably be to turn on GI, and that's pretty much all we need to do. Now, some of you may notice here that I actually have the Magic Preview plugin set up, and I like to use that still with Vray for a few reasons I'll explain here in a minute. But of course, with the new Vray, they do have an IPR window that is now fully functioning and works really great, but there are just some features such as displacement, which I want to go over today, that don't actually render in the IPR, but that's totally understandable because that has to kind of bake out that geometry. And so moving along here, though, what I'm going to do is just pop in a light here under my Vray bridge. I'm just go to lights. I'm going to bring in an area light, throw on a target tag, and we're just going to... Sorry, I got a new tablet here, and if I point that to my sphere, I just want to get some quick lighting setup going here, just so I can show you guys some of the cool new features, or at least the integration is just second to none in this version of Vray. So if I hit the start button here on Magic Preview here, you'll immediately see that basically is clean and done already. I have a pretty dang fast computer, so I'm going to put the intensity to 5 here. And actually, you know what? I'm going to bring that back to 1, and I'm going to bring in a camera. And I'm going to right-click on my camera and throw in a physical camera tag. And rather than increasing my light brightness, I'm going to, well, there I just lowered the vignette effect and switched this to neutral. I'm just getting 100% clean color mapping there, or at least this... you can kind of emulate different film tonality with the white balance presets here, but I like to set it to white because I can always go in and do all that stuff in post. So, but what is probably a better way to work is to just crank up, like, your ISO, or get your camera adjusted as opposed to cranking all your lights up. And we can just kind of continue to bump this up, and it might bring the f-stop down to like 2.8, and I think that's looking pretty good. And another thing I may do is actually, I'm going to pause that and go into the render settings. And just to, sometimes I actually like to work with brute force GI, just for both my primary GI engine and the secondary rays. And so if I do that, I get, it's interesting. You get even more of like an immediate preview here of what you actually are getting. So if I bring in a second light here, I'm going to just select the tag, and we'll color that kind of a nice blue. I'll bring this guy over here. Just going to set up like a real basic 3-point lighting setup here. And let's do one with a bit of a purpley tone in the back. And I'm just going to increase the size of that light. And then another nice feature about V-Ray is it has all the, you know, if I check these invisible checkboxes, it's going to hide those lights from my scene here. And that's looking pretty nice. But the integration is just fantastic. I'm going to save this real quick here. So there we go. And I'm going to pause this, but really I just want to show you guys the displacement and how powerful it is in V-Ray here. But if I pull up a displacement shader here, sorry this is going off the screen a little bit here. If I right click here, I can bring in the proper preview here, which is these ship with the plugin, all these different fantastic previews for the materials, which is really nice to be able to pull those up. But for now, I'm just going to use the default. And then under the parameters here, I'm just going to load in a Cinema 4D noise. Now, I really wish that more third-party engines supported the built-in Cinema 4D shaders as well as V-Ray does or Corona. But, you know, the support that you get in V-Ray is just second to none. It really is the most fully featured renderer that I know of for cinema. You know, it really does support almost everything. The only thing we're really waiting on is support for like Turbulence FD and getting proper VDB support. But that's okay. I think it's going to be coming in this next service pack. But if I enable this, like I'm sure you will notice there how quickly that fired up. And you know, another nice thing about the way V-Ray displacement works is I don't have to put a special tag on here. Everything is just all controlled within the global render settings, and you can override that, but by default, if you just see this use global parameters checkbox here is enabled. But if I go in here and just throw in like a different noise, there's another fantastic thing with cinema is all these noises are just really, really cool. And they're essentially presets and mixtures of all other types of more, you know, standard noises, but they really save, you know, a lot of time from just going in and making that stuff by default. But if you just see how quick this is rendering and how detailed that displacement is, yeah, it's pretty much instantaneous. Now, one of the tricks though that V-Ray is doing is it's actually kind of combining bump mapping and displacement, but incredibly accurately. I don't know of any other render engines that do this quite as well as V-Ray. I know Arnold does a pretty good job of it, but I just still have not found a render engine that is this quick when it comes to displacement. But if I go under here with the displacement settings here, and if I just lower this edge length to 1, for example, you'll notice that it takes a little bit longer to render, but now we're going to be getting more of that fine detail that we'd expect to see from this. And yeah, it's, you know, it's basically clean. It looks awesome. And so that's all well and good. But if I copy this material and let's bring in another noise here, let's just see what we get with this guy. I mean, you know, you could go through all these noises and really see what they're good for, but they're all just really powerful, and one of the really awesome features of Cinema 4D. And I just kind of increased the global scale of this guy. I'm going to bump it up to like 1,000 so you can see this. This is more like just kind of a Perlin mix, it appears, but you can see the detail is just pretty impressive. Another one of my favorites is probably this Luca noise, which is actually probably my favorite. Just it looks super organic and gets you really nice looking results, pretty much with just that one shader. But yeah, it looks really great. Now I'm just going to lower this to 800%. Now one of the things, as I said, is all these shaders are supported. So if I bring in a new V-Ray material here, and I'm going to just pause the preview there. if I make this just a standard V-Ray advanced material here and I plop this on, the way V-Ray works with the displacement is you put the displacement tag here first, and then any materials that are stacked up on top will just be on top of the displacement. So it's pretty logical in the way that it works there. But if I go in here and, for example, under my diffuse layer, under diffuse color, if I just wanted to bring in, let's see here, it's kind of out of the screen area here. If I wanted to bring in this terrain mask shader, you can see what we're getting here, and then actually pop that into a layer shader. Now these are the Cinema 4D shading shaders rather, and they say if you want to have the fully featured DR capability to not really use the Cinema 4D shaders, but they are still fully supported across Team Render. And I do a lot of still image work, and I don't really, rendering over DR is not a huge concern for me, so I still like to really use the Cinema 4D shaders because I'm extremely familiar with the way they work. But if I just wanted to, let's say copy this guy, and then, and actually I'm going to show you guys a plugin here that I use called the Reference Shader, which is a fantastic plugin that you guys should check out if you're interested. But in the this little Tools tab here, I can actually reference that this noise coming from that displacer. Now it's just essentially an instance of that in there, kind of like a node-based setup there. And now I'm just going to bring in a color, and we will kind of map maybe like a kind of a brown color to this. And I'm not really mapping it, but I was just going to kind of do like a multiply thing there. Nothing too fancy. And then the terrain mask, I think I'm also going to do a multiply. And let's just plop, well, that's already on there. And I'm going to hit the magic preview here. And you'll see that we have something that looks a little dark and weird. And I think that's might be nice if I actually brought in another color here. And this is just kind of a demo, so I'm not going to make anything too beautiful here. But if I set this to layer mask, and then give this a second to calculate, I want to put my terrain mask underneath this top color. And then there we go. That's kind of what I was looking for. So you can see that terrain mask is working beautifully. And we might as well make this like look a little bit like some snow. And then if I go into the terrain mask here and just increase the soften max, that will kind of make it a little softer around the edges. Now one of the reasons this is taking a second here is because I really cranked up that displacement quality. So that's looking pretty cool. I'm going to pause this here and just to speed everything up, I'm going to put this back to 4, and then I think I will go in here and play around with this stuff a little bit. If I increase that max slope, I should get a little more coverage of my snow, and that's looking pretty cool. And I don't know about you guys, but I just really like to work with procedural shaders. I know there's Substance Designer and Painter out there, which are actually technically procedural and produce some incredibly realistic, amazing results. But anytime I'm working on a quick project for a client and I need to build a quick shader, I just find that it's generally quickest for me to just go in and make the shader with the built-in Cinema 4D tools. So that's one of the reasons why I really like the way that V-Ray works. So this is all working great and super fast. And what I want to show you guys next, and this is a huge feature that I've been waiting for a very long time, but I'm going to put a little cloud over my little spherical world here. And what you can do now is under the let's pull this up here a little bit. And sorry for my this layout is a little different from the standard, but I have my materials over here. If I go to here, down here, right, you guys should be able to see that there is a new V-Ray volume material. If I right click here and just set the material preview to the default V-Ray, now I can actually build a 3-dimensional volume within a material, which is so awesome. And there is one little caveat here. You have to take a V-Ray advanced material. You have to apply it to whichever object you want this volume material to be applied to, and just have this be kind of like the way the displacement works. It just needs this blank, V-Ray material on here in order to work. So just keep everything consistent. I'm going to just turn that to that sphere default V-Ray material. So if you set this up just like this and we hit render, we should see this volume material applied. Now if I go in here to the volume settings, and let's see here, go to, sorry, it's a little tough to work in a smaller 10x80 UI like this. And if I increase the fog distance to a much higher value, and now we hit, let's see what we got here. Maybe these have to be flipped. There we go. Yeah, so a little confusing there, but yeah, so you have to have the volume material first. Right here you can see volume material, and the second tag needs to be the V-Ray advanced material. And so if you don't have that blank material on there, I think that's how V-Ray kind of calculates the coordinate space of where this guy lives. But we can see now here I'm getting a very nice volumetric cube there. And if I go into my settings here on the volume material and set the fog distance to something like 50, now you can see we're getting a very nice volumetric cube there, and this is a fully 3D volume that we have here. So this is all working in the new V-Ray 3.4.1 or whatever it may be. And now the really awesome thing that just is amazing is you can go in here to the noise here under fog density, and I brought in the default Cinema 4D noise, and I cranked up the contrast. And if we look here in our preview, we're starting to get some noise within our volume here. If I turn on my little magic preview here, which by the way is a fantastic free plugin that you can get, and we can see that that noise is being mapped in a 3D space to my little cloud there. And I can't tell you how long I've been waiting for this feature, and here it is. Now you can generate fantastic looking clouds and all sorts of cool effects with this guy. Now you'll notice that it's taking a long time to render, and the reason for that is this magical little setting here. Where did it go? Well, in fact, we don't even have GI on, which I'm going to turn on. But the really important setting here is the step size. Right now it's set to 1 centimeter, which is very high. If we set this to something like 25, we're going to get much faster render times with not a huge impact on the amount of detail that we're getting here. You can see that's already clean now, or almost. I'm going to turn off my purple light and this light, and we'll just get a little more dramatic lighting here. And maybe turn that guy back on. You can see I'm getting like immediate feedback here in this magic preview window, albeit pretty tiny. But if I enlarge it a little here, you'll see that I'm getting that. And I might set the step size to something like 10. And if I go into the noise here and switch it to Luca, again, one of my favorites. If I increase that scale to 800, let's say, and increase the contrast, and then actually I'm going to lower the scale to 600. I'm just trying to get nice little looking poofy cloud around my little landscape here. And if I go into here, there's a nice little setting that is the fade out radius, and if I put like say 25 in there, it's going to actually fade out around the edges. So this way we could really kind of get a nice organic transition from the edge of the our bounding box to the actual cloud here. So anyway, this is kind of just what I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, the new V-Ray is working beautifully in the new Cinema R18. I'm just going to do a quick render for you guys here. And yeah, I haven't, I did a little comparison with this to Octane, running like two 980s, and V-Ray still came out on top a little bit, but I have a very, very fast computer, so it really just depends on how fast your machine is, and whether you got, a lot of CPU power, or if you have 4 graphics cards, then, you know, you're doing pretty well with Octane and Redshift and some of the other render engines. But as you can see, I mean, this is all being calculated with brute force GI. We have GI going on in the clouds. You can see the kind of detail we're getting here. And this isn't like an open VDB where I had to go into like Houdini and generate this volume. This is all being generated within the procedural shader that is the built-in Cinema 4D noise. And all of this is, yeah, generated with the procedural stuff. Now, obviously, I haven't taken much time to go in and make this all pretty, but I think for just playing around to show you guys that all this stuff works, it's kind of what I wanted to do for this video. So anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you all soon.